Hi, I'm Dan Schmitt. I do a motorcycle racing TV show called Team Chicago Challenge. My website is teamchicago.tv, teamchicago.tv. My email is teamdan45@gmail.com. As I continue on with my granddaughter Alyssa, we're looking at what took place in the 1990s. This is part of my history, but it also represents the history of motorcycle racing in the Midwest in the 1990s. So I hope you enjoy this. I like hearing from my audience. My email is teamdan45@gmail.com. Send me an email and let me know what you think. So you're looking at that picture, and I think that picture there, what does it look like?
You with Gina Woods and Kris Tigerlady
Right.
at the Open Road radio show.
Right. So that picture was probably taken at one of Walneck's swap meets, because Gina and Kris Tigerlady and Santo, that is Santo, here's they created a radio show. This is 1997. Motorcycles are maybe at their peak of popularity. I mean, like, everybody wanted to have a motorcycle. Every celebrity was riding motorcycles. It was huge. If you look at the numbers of motorcycles sold, you're probably going to see the end of the 1990s were the biggest numbers ever.
Yeah.
The economy was great. I mean, I could talk about the economy for 30 seconds. Like I said, during the 80s, under Ronald Reagan, cutting taxes, the economy took off. The average 20-year-old, 25-year-old had $2,000 or $3,000 of disposable income, so they could go race motorcycles. They could do things. I mean, whether it's kayaking or whether it was skateboarding, or there was a lot of money. People were traveling. The economy was great. George Bush was then president after Reagan, the elder. And he only made one mistake. He listened to the Democrats. Big problem. Don't ever listen to Democrats. So then Bill Clinton came along and beat him. But Bill Clinton back then, even though now we know him pretty much of a closet Marxist, but back then he was the center of the road. He ran as a center of the road Democrat. Him and Al Gore were both center of the road. They weren't to the left, they weren't to the right, they wanted to be regular. And what also happened, and people sort of forget about this, and I can intimately know all about this, because here's one, you say, who do I admire? Newt Gingrich, I really admire. Now, when I ran for Congress in 1984, and I didn't win that race at all, I lost the primary, Chuck Tush, who won the primary, brought Newt Gingrich in for a fundraiser, and I went to a fundraiser and I got to meet Newt, just shook his hand. I mean, I can never say I was friends with him or anything, but he was considered one of the grenade tossers or the bomb throwers in Congress. For 40 years, at that point when I ran in 84 for Congress, it would have been for 30-some years, the Democrats controlled the Congress. Republicans were always a minority. Michaels, I can't think of his first name, Congressman Michaels, from Illinois, was the minority leader, and he was happy. Republicans were happy they figured, well, we don't have to work, we'll just be there. They didn't have the convictions. Newt Gingrich was a man that had convictions. Newt Gingrich understood conservative ideals, just like Ronald Reagan understood conservative ideals. Work, freedom, responsibility. I mean, this is stuff that I was taught in high school. I mean, you can go to YouTube, I have clips up there talking about freedom and responsibility. So Newt is my kind of conservative. So in 1994, Newt Gingrich put together the Contract with America. He got all the congressional candidates, Republican candidates, in 1994 to sign a contract. And this was a contract between the Republican congressional candidates and the people of America. If you elect us, they told you, we will do these 10 things. And we're on the 10. One thing was term limits, but balancing the budget was number one. Balance the budget. The most serious threat against the United States of America is an unbalanced budget. The only thing that brought the Roman Empire down, if you remember your history, is they ran out of money. That's why the Roman Empire fell apart. Nobody ever conquered Rome. I mean, they had the Visigoths and they had the Huns, but nobody ever invaded Rome and took over Rome. Rome just fell apart because they had no money. And then the Dark Ages came about with the city-states. That were parts of the old empire breaking down. So Newt ran on the concept that we're going to balance the budget. We're going to start paying off the debt and we're going to cut spending. So in 1994, the Republicans, first time in 40 years, controlled the House. And I think at the same time they controlled the Senate. So the Republicans would control the Senate from time to time, but the House for 40 years they didn't control it. So now we're at 1997, they're really balancing the budget. I mean, it's first time since World War II that the budget was starting to be in balance. And by balancing the budget, that really gave great relief to people that now your money is worth something. So that's what I'm saying. Open road radio came along at the one time where everybody wanted a motorcycle. But everybody had disposable income. Even though Harley Davidson back then, 1994, say a full dress Harley might have been $10,000.
Yeah.
Well, people were buying full dress Harleys. So open road radios, like I said, it was Santo, and he put Kris Tigerlady. Kris Tigerlady was from working with the university. She was more the intellectual type. And Gina Woods is a real hardcore motorcyclist. I mean, she had her panhead that she built herself, that she would ride, her 1942 panhead or whatever. So she's a real biker. Kris Tigerlady worked at Cars Honda, so she always had motorcycles. So it was a marriage made in heaven. And Santo knew Kris, Santo knew Gina. They all came together. They all came in with $500 each, so with $1,500, they started this radio show. I was brought in to do sports. Now people say, well, what do you mean sports? Well, I would do MotoGP results. I would do Supercross results. I would do AMA flat tracking results. When I was on the road, I would call in results from where I was racing. So we were on Saturday nights. We were on Sunday mornings. I mean, there was different times. So we started in a radio station in Highland Park, and that's open road radio. So show some pictures. If I got some video from the studio, I may have some. I might show it. But these are a great group of pictures. You see Gina, you see me, you see Santo's there. I can't think of his name. I'm sorry, I can't think of his name, but he worked at Illinois Harley Davidson. So we would have technical stuff. We would have riding events. We would talk about new products. And it was a complete motorcycle radio show. At one time we were on just an hour. Then eventually we expanded. We were on 2 hours.
Oh, nice.
And right today, as I'm speaking to you, Gina Woods still has open road radio on out of Evanston, AM 105, FM, but every Saturday morning open road radio is still on. So we're going back to 97, so Gina's been doing the radio show consistently for now 23 years. Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah.
A lot of work, I mean. But we had, big stations, little stations, And Gina would get out there and sell the advertising. I mean, probably the most famous guest we would always have on most of the time. Jay Leno's been on many, many, many times.
Oh, nice.
Evil Knievel, many, many times, you know. Carl King then became the DJ. He's the one that spins, and Carl King's a good friend of mine. So I've made many, many friends with Open Road Radio.
Yeah.
So it was a great endeavor, and it's still going.
Yeah.
Right.
Time to ride, America. Open Road Radio is on the air and ready to roll with Gina Woods, Jim Viverito, and Dan Schmitt. With on-the-road commentary with Biker Bob and Elaine. Open Road Radio is America's premier motorcycle talk show, featuring news, celebrities, tech tips, and more. Open Road Radio is sponsored by DGY Motorsports and by SNS Cycle. And now, with WD-40 as their aftershave, here's our hosts of Open Road Radio.
And it is Open Road Radio, and here we go. Jim, take it away.
Well, here it is Sunday evening in Open Road Radio. Your weekly radio source for all things motorcycle is on the air. This week we're doing it in the dirt. Desert to forest, through deep woods to dry lake beds, across the creek and into the swamp, out onto the cornfields and bean fields, over hill and dale. Dirt biking is enjoyed by millions, and we've got the lowdown on making tracks with those knobby tires. Joining us tonight in studio as our special guest co-host is Jeff Fredette, owner and operator of Fredette Racing Products. Jeff is a multi-time gold medalist in the International 6 Days Enduro, sometimes referred to as the Olympics of motorcycling. Just other things, Jeff is also one of the fastest ice racers around. Also joining us tonight will be Dana Bell of the National Off-Highway Vehicle Council, who will be filling us in on the efforts of those who want to severely restrict and even ban off-road motorcycling, and about what's being done and what we all can do to fight these restrictions.
That's right.
Well, Dan Schmitt is off racing, but he'll be calling in his Team Chicago race report along with Dave Derringer's report from the motocross circuit.
Before you read that, right above that's a picture of Phil Young.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Young is one of my oldest friends with the racing. I met him through endurance racing. Him and Guy Jones were running the Weir National Endurance Series, not as serious as me, another guy from Chicago, and that's him riding my bike, maybe at Groton Raceway, maybe he came and raced with Team Chicago, maybe Steve couldn't make a race or something.
Yeah.
But the next thing I want you to mention, because that's how we're going to end this up, because read what you can read there and try to figure out what that all is all about.
All right, so it says the art of the motorcycle rose through the field November 7th through March 21st. Is this like...
All right, so I'll explain it.
Okay.
The Guggenheim Museum. You ever hear of the Guggenheim Museum in New York?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Guggenheim Museum put together the art of the motorcycle exhibit. So they put together like 30 motorcycles that they considered were pieces of art. And that was in New York City, and that ran for about a year. The Field Museum wanted to bring that exhibit to Chicago.
Yeah.
Kris Tigerlady, because like I said, Kris Tigerlady was more involved with university. I think she works for the University of Chicago, but she's more in with those toy people than me. She was more involved. Kris Tigerlady was more involved with people in universities and that, you know, and she knew people at the Field Museum. They reached out to her because of the radio show and because she was also writing columns on motorcycles. So Kris Tigerlady was well known in the Chicago area. She brought me in. They wanted to produce a video about motorcycling. What is motorcycling? So I volunteered my time, traveled all over the place. I mean, I collected video in many, many different locations. I didn't edit this video clip that I'm going to show you, and that's how we're going to end the show.
Yeah.
But I didn't edit it, but I'm the one that shot 99% of all the video that you're going to see in this clip. But this is the clip to try to capture what the feelings of motorcycling is. And they did allow me, they didn't allow anybody in the exhibit with a camera or video. You couldn't video or you couldn't take pictures. They allowed me to videotape my 10 favorites. Let's briefly look at 5 of my 10 favorites. This is the Show Parole, a French-built, steam-powered bicycle built in 1868, just 3 years after the end of the Civil War. Steam-powered, the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. A bicycle powered by an engine in 1868. Now we're looking at Glenn Curtis's V8 powered motorcycle. It has a 265 cubic inch engine. In 1907, it went 136 miles per hour, setting the land speed record on Ormond Beach. He used the motorcycle to test the engines for the airplanes he was going to build. Now we're looking at the Cyclone, using a Harley-Davidson engine. This is a Ford track racer. These were the bikes that were raced in the 19-teens through the 1920s. They were capable of racing at speeds over 100 miles per hour on the Ford tracks. Now we'll get the MV Agusta 500, the winningest motorcycle on the Grand Prix circuit. Giacomo Agostini, a great racer who I did have a chance to interview, won the 500 GP class 7 years in a row, riding the MV Agusta. And finally, we're looking at the Britain, built by John Britton in New Zealand. This was his lifelong dream to build a twin-cylinder race bike. I did see this bike race at Daytona in the Battle of the Twins race. Quite an impressive and beautiful motorcycle. Now let's get back to our conversation with my granddaughter, Alyssa. And I got a nice viewed banner in my front hall that I got from, but it was a great event. It went for like 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
We did a couple things at the museum during the exhibit, and it was really big. Like I said, motorcycling in the late 1990s was huge. Everybody. I mean, I even think Bill Clinton probably wanted a motorcycle, but I'm sure Hillary wouldn't let him. So let's go get that video, and then when we come back, we'll wrap this thing up.
Why do I love them? Strictly because it's the only way I can really express my emotions for performance machines. It's truly a piece of art. Functional art, yes. These are not just motorcycles. They're high maintenance, but they're pieces of art. You mix and match your pieces.
Just a little bit of additions that make it your own, a little bit different than everybody else's.
You take off pieces, you chrome out pieces.
There's no chrome. I'm not into chrome. I could live without chrome.
They would buy a scooter and they'd customize it with everything and anything they could find. And if there was room to put something on it, then they put it on.
If you look at the engine, you can see the love that was put into crafting every single component.
The bike weighs 3,280 pounds. It's 17 feet in length. And the builder who made it, his name is Wild Bill Yelpke. I would build models, I would draw them. I would build models out of cardboard, out of wood, and I still do.
My next door neighbor and I would build mini bikes from Stingray bicycles. We'd chop them down and re-weld them, put a Briggs & Stratton motor on there, and just ride around the block and the police would chase us.
I like the frame. I like this big piece here. It looks very powerful. It makes the bike look streamlined.
Bill would just head off that way. 3 days later, we'd be back at work having gone to Oklahoma for no other reason than to be on the road.
Well, it's really exciting. It's really scary too. When you're doing three-digit speeds, it comes into its own, and you really feel very comfortable up there.
I feel so comfortable, and still I'm 7 months pregnant now, and I still feel great on this bike, so it makes me feel good.
I like to ride to the edge of the road to balance exhilaration and fear.
For me personally, it's the sound. I just like the way the motorcycle sounds. I like the way it performs. And it's the feeling of freedom. It's the wind in your hair, the bugs in your teeth. And probably the best ride for me is through the farmlands, the smells. Believe it, I never thought manure could smell so good, but it sure does on a motorcycle. You'd be quiet.
It's exciting. You got all that power between your legs, loins, what have you, and you're shifting with one hand, you're braking, you're gearing, everything is you're utilizing on the bike, and it's exciting.
It's very sexual and sensual rolled into one.
It's extremely sexy. I just hadn't found out to who other than myself. You know, I miss my bike when I don't ride. Every day, at least I'm thinking about my bike, and you know, my wife, I don't think she likes that, but that's the way it is. But this one is, it's just very special to me, and it's like my baby almost.
And here's me grabbing it exactly the way that it's supposed to be. So it's clear that at this age, I wanted to ride.
Mom used to hate me because I put bolts in my shoes and drag my feet down the street at night and put on a really spark show. So
we have breakfast runs every Sunday morning. Different people come to those. We have a poker run every year for charity.
I ride with my dad, and I came here to help the kids.
I'm also the president of LAMA, which stands for Latin American Motorcycle Association. Is an organization we've been around for 21 years now.
But also we ride with the local abut chapter, which is a motorcycle rights organization.
Been a Motor Maid for 25 years plus. The Motor Maid is an organization that's been in existence, I believe it's 57 years. This event that's going on here, it brings motorcyclists together to help children who have brain cancer, and I'm now the president of the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation in the United States. I'm with the American Lawman Motorcycle Club. I'm a member of that particular club because I like working with inside the law instead of outside the law.
It was just amazing to look in my rearview mirrors and see the hills that we were crossing and just see miles of headlights from the bikes.
The experience of riding is ethereal.
You have such a sense of freedom on a motorcycle. It's the closest thing to flying.
You can't describe when you get on and you hear an engine, you hear it making noise, and when you twist your wrist a little bit, you take off like a rocket.
Racing is the one time you can go as fast as you want. I like going fast on motorcycles. That's why I race motorcycles, and I race at the track.
On the bike, it's kind of like a time machine. You know, the scenery's moving by you really slow. Doesn't matter how fast you're going, and everything just kind of slows down.
Cycling for me has become a channel of self-improvement. For some people it is yoga, others find it through meditation. For me it is two wheels and a twisting highway. We are the participants in life. We're not the folks that sit home on our sofas and watch television all day long, but rather we get out and live life and are participants.
I'm more excited to be a rider than a passenger. I want to be in control of my own destiny.
And it's habit forming. Like I said before, once it gets in your blood, you want to do it all the time.
We do long road trips every year where it's like a caravan, and it's like you're on a trip with your family, but everybody's much better behaved.
There's really nothing quite like it.
All right, so what did you think? That pretty cool video, huh? Showing exactly motorcycling and another way of looking at it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, well, we're going to be back. We're going to come back. I'm going to hold Alyssa over for one more show, and we're going to end up the 1990s because the next part is really important, and I'm very proud of what happened. So thank you, Alyssa.
Yeah.
And more stuff. Open Road Radio is on WCGO 1590 AM, 95.9 FM, Saturdays from 11 to noon. OpenRoadRadio.com, and you can listen anywhere in the nation. Facebook radio host. Field Museum for information, it's fieldmuseum.org. Contact me, it's teendan45@gmail.com. I love to hear from my audience. You can always search on YouTube with Dan Schmitt Motorcycle Racing.